3, 4, 1.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. Our next presentation for philosophy of Rick and Morty is Joel Stein, and they're going to talk about cosmic horror.
Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. So my team is going to cover cosmic horror, Ishmael and Diana and I. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy this presentation. Alrighty, so I'm going to give you guys a little rundown on the who came up with the idea of cosmic horror. Howard Philip Lovecraft, who was born in August 20th, 1890 in Providence, Rhode Island. He came up in a really tough neighborhood as a kid. He dealt with a lot of mental health issues. Parents were also dealing with a lot of health issues. His dad was actually in and out of a lot of hospital buildings, and his mom was just a mess of a woman. She was known to be a drunk. So he had it tough coming up as a young man, but yeah, eventually he found influence in things like Goth tradition, which consists of old stories such as Frankenstein's monster, the mummy, the werewolf man, or the wolf man, and Count Dracula. Some of those were some of the things that inspired him in his early days and helped him, develop as a horror author. And up here we have a little quote that will give you a little idea of what at least he thought was cosmic horror. And a line that really stuck out to me was confronted by phenomena beyond our comprehension, which kind of iterates that a lot of his work revolves around like the unknown, things that we aren't sure of. And so yeah, and down here I have a little artwork that was one of his earlier characters that he created. He called it the octopus god. Probably gonna butcher the name, but it's called Cthulhu. Yeah, that one. And there's actually a pretty interesting story about that. How he came up with this idea. Basically, he was known for having a really deep hatred for seafood. So that influenced Lovecraft in a pretty magnificent way, because who can come up with that, an octopus head with dragon wings and a pretty shredded body. But yeah, that's just a little bit about the man himself. All right, and next I'm going to be covering just the character that was introduced to us in the Rick and Morty season 1, episode 4, I think. At first I was confused about the character. I had a couple of questions why is he yellow, and so I did a little bit of research, and I found this picture of Titus A under a thermal microscope, and then I put it side to side, and then I saw that the colors kind of look the same. They're vibrant. Maybe the author of Rick and Morty, or the authors to say, decided to mold the idea into their own. But then I still had a couple of questions, so I did more research on one of the authors of Rick and Morty, Justin Roiland, and he actually had a really close family member of him who suffered from hepatitis A and B, and so then I made the connection between Mr. Lovecraft and Mr. Roiland. And basically, Mr. Roiland, what I believe he might have done is he took a bad experience of his life and formed it into a character of his own and shared it with the public. And he came up with this hepatitis A character on here on the right, which is kind of like what Lovecraft did back in the day. So there's a similarity there. So yeah. And then I'm going to pass it on to Diana, who's going to be covering another character.
So my character that I found in Rick and Morty was Scary Terry, and one line that he said was, "Scary Terry is a legally safe knockoff of an 80s horror character with miniature swords for fingers instead of knives." And as you guys all know, Krueger in yes. And so basically, this is just for like H.P. Lovecraft, sorry. H.P. Lovecraft. He's basically so the authors of Rick and Morty they're just making a connection and tying it into Scary Terry because, as you guys know, Freddy Krueger does go into dreams, and it ties back to the episode, I think it's episode 2, and how Rick and Morty go into his math teacher's dreams, and then what they wanted to accomplish there doesn't go the way they wanted to, so then they're going to end up going into another person's dream, and then another person, which does end up having to tie in with Scary Terry, and then so basically what the authors were doing is just they wanted to have a representation of Freddy Krueger in Rick and Morty, and this was their way of representing it, which was Scary Terry. And yeah, so now I'm gonna go ahead and pass it back on to Joel, and she's gonna talk about the cultural impact of the books that influenced other authors to write.
Alrighty, so we're covering culture impact of cosmic horror. So cosmic horror is actually pretty involved in the things we read, the things we play, and the things we watch on TV. Just a couple of examples here. Stephen King is actually a pretty well-known author that has used a lot of material from Lovecraft. He's very inspired by him, being a pioneer of horror genres in general. And the book was actually a pretty good book that had a lot of plot points that Lovecraft used in his novels back in the day. The Shining, also a great example. It's a great book and a great film. Video games. Lovecraft was known for being really into space because it was unknown, right? Like what's more like mysterious in space. So Dead Space is a great example as it takes literally place in space. And you have to get through a lot of like deformed aliens and stuff like that. Personally, me playing that game, I still have a lot of questions from that. So it's a great example of cosmic horror. Silent Hill, even though it doesn't take place in space, the characters in that game are terrifying and things that I can't till this day describe. But yeah, movies and TV shows. I chose Stranger Things and Aliens because even though one takes place in space and the other one in land, they both correlate in a very important way, which is they deal with extraterrestrial aliens. So yeah, I just thought that was pretty pretty interesting, and yeah. Alrighty, and then up next I'm going to be describing the Lovecraft Circle. So the Lovecraft Circle is basically a collective of authors that really took a liking of Lovecraft's early work, being these books right here, for example. And on the right here is the logo that they went by. It's pretty cool, I think. But yeah, all these authors right here consist of authors that wrote novels, ranging from like sorcery to mystery to dark romance to like I think even like adventure at times. But yeah. It was a really good collective of authors which really helped Lovecraft really have longevity in his career. And yeah, the Necronomicon book that he wrote was one of his most well-known books at the time. If the Necronomicon sounds familiar, it's because you've probably heard this word or name on the... Who here has seen the movie Evil Dead? Okay, a couple of you guys. Yeah, so Necronomicon basically it means like the Book of the Dead. So the whole franchise of the Evil Dead movies revolved around the Necronomicon, the Book of the Dead. And I just found it really interesting that 80 years later, some directors literally took material from Lovecraft and used it to, expand the universe. And yeah, right here, the Tales of Horror, also one of his earlier books actually, and right here you can see the tentacles right here from the octopus. And That is, yeah, that's the same guy that, the same picture that I described earlier in the slides. Yeah. Alrighty, and now Ishmael will cover multiverse.
Hi guys. So, Rick and Morty, throughout the episodes that I've been watching, I've noticed a couple of trends. One of those trends has been multiverse. And throughout the episodes, you've noticed Rick, especially with Rick, his dynamic throughout the episodes are, he doesn't really care. He's one of those individuals that has sort of become so intelligent or so out of intelligent that he's sort of reached a epoch where he's able to create these devices. And one of the devices that I've seen in an episode where he created an engine, and within this engine there was a universe. And while he's discovering this universe within the engine, he discovers someone within the universe that he created, creating another engine within the universe. And so this becomes almost this comical release where it becomes outbound, where these universes are just so infinite that even the deaths of the characters, like when Rick and Morty die in this episode, where they blow up and they kill themselves pretty much, 2 new versions of Rick and Morty will come and replace Rick and Morty, also burying them within the episode, and it just pretty much gives you this outbound where it just nothing really matters, everything is pretty much flat or flatline. One of the characters in Rick and Morty is this creature. I forgot the name of the creature, but the creature is able to almost implement these memories within the characters. And so Rick finds out that the character is trying to create another universe within the universe that he created. And so they're just trying to fix this problem. And so it just gives you this outlook that within Rick and Morty, there's this multiverse. And basically any time that people have problems, or any time that disaster happens, or any time that an alien strikes, it doesn't really matter because the universe within the universe happens. And so Rick and Morty just explains it in that way. And I just find that really, really interesting. So yeah, and it says here, before there was the thought there was place one Earth, and it always just tells you, always explaining that there's more than one Earth, there's more than one universe, there's more than one existence. And so even the thought of God, the thought of a higher being, it just really doesn't count because it's just an ever-ending amount of universes, and if one universe gets destroyed, there's another version with the same things happening. It also says a single history, also with a single history. But within the coming of man came an illusion of free will, and with the illusion came chaos. This pretty much explains that chaos, happiness, all these emotions, all the things that people find having value, having almost what would I call importance. These things don't really matter. It says over here that with every choice we make, we literally create a world. Every time you have a thought, every time you have an expression, every time you want to do something, those things actually happen. If you ever thought of becoming a billionaire, if you ever thought of becoming something really, really important, it happened. And so I just really wanted to end this with really important. It's a very important aspect of the show that I like, and it just gives it a little bit of a comic that comes a little, it's dark, but it's also funny. Thank you.
Yeah.